such an asshole.
We got a pretty good question from a young man with previous clients. Let's go through it. Hello, asshole. Former fellow Minneapolitan here. I was a customer 10 years ago. He provides the link and have another video request for you. I've been following your work for 11 to 12 years, and your advice has definitely put me in a better place than had I tried to figure it out all on my own, especially since I didn't have a father to guide me. Thank you for that. No problem. There's the course available on Teachable called The Dad You Never Had. Topic request. With today's hustle culture, crypto scams, and get-rich-quick schemes, would you still give young men the same advice? Don't try until you're 35. P.S. I never took that job with Wells Fargo. Good. There's no reason to. Looking forward to hearing you. Thanks, next. All right, so let's go through it. If you look through my YouTube archives, there's a video there somewhere called Don't Try Until You're 35. And I'm not the one that came up with that. That was actually Rush Limbaugh who said originally, nobody takes you seriously until you're 40. And when, Rush Limbaugh, this was a while ago, and I was like, God, I wish someone told me that, because it's true. Because I busted my ass off in my youth, doing what you were told to do, nearly straight A's, paid my way through college, internship. Like I was going to prove it, right? I'm going to be the best. I will be the best. And then you, boomer class, of which we had this, I guess it would be a covert contract. Well, no, it wasn't covert. They said, if you do this, you'll be very successful. All right, so I did that. And then the boomers just, I guess maybe too early in the video, violated you in the ass, because that's what boomers do. And all I had done at that point in time was waste my youth. And to prevent other future generations of young people from doing that, until a generation of leaders comes along that gives young people a fair shake, it's very important advice where it's like, yeah, don't try until you're 35, because until you get gray hair, and more as time has gone on, I've started to, it doesn't contradict anything I observed before, I said before, but promotions are done mainly due to a vacuum of power. It is not how hard you work or how good you are. It's you just got to wait until you get old enough, because enough people die or they themselves get promoted, they go somewhere else, that you are sucked into a position of power. Now everyone takes me seriously because I have gray hair. I'm almost 50. It's weird. People, what do you think? Why? You should ask me what I thought when I was 23, because back then I gave a shit. I was much better research, and I had way more of a tremendous work ethic now. Now I'm like Robert De Niro, fuck you, pay me. I'll give you my half-ass advice that is ill research, but you're going to believe me because I'm a 50-year-old. So that dynamic of where you get responsibility, you could take on more, make more money, it really is, you got to wait till other people get out of your way. It's not fair. It's not meritocratic at all. But the main reason I want to warn people about it is so when you're young, you're only young once, and you don't want to waste your youth banging at a door that's never going to be open for you. You don't want to put in that work if it isn't going to be reciprocated. And especially, like, you only are young once, although unless you're physically unhealthy, I think every guy has, you got an afterburner in you, you can redline it a little bit. But when you're younger, it's easier to give it that old college try, to work and go to school. You only have that youth once where you could really put all your effort and, like, here, look what I'm capable of. Don't do that in your 20s or your teens. Go have fun instead. Save that energy for when it counts, like when you're in your 30s and they're starting to take you, then you go work your 60 to 70 hours a week. But you don't go work for the big four, like 80 hours a week. You don't work in investment banking 80 hours a week in your 20s. I mean, you will, but you don't do that. You wait until you're older and you're compensated. So that was the don't try until you're 35, to make sure you basically make the most amount of money for all the work you're going to put into it. And then it got misconstrued where people says, okay, so sit on my ass and do pot. No, that's not what I said. It says, don't try with a large corporate employer. You never dedicate yourself. You do not give your best to your employer. You give your best to anyone who's going to pay you for it. And if there is no opportunity, then you either go and have some fun, not doing pot, but take that effort instead rather and invest it in yourself. So things like entrepreneurs, and you go back 10, 15 years, and that's where things like, yeah, man, I'm going to learn how to do a trade. I'm going to start my own business. And I know you want to get a side hustle, right? The side gig, but it's taken on a bad name with all these crypto bros. And thank God, all you douche canoes from Andrew Tate's Hustler University, where apparently the only thing you learned was how to email people say, I'll do your editing, bro. Bro, can I do we could get you more traffic to your website, bro. Those are scams and rackets. I was talking more serious things like you become a tradesman, you become a carpenter, you just work security like I did. So you could work on other stuff at night. Join the military, get the GI Bill. I think the military is a great place to kill some time because it really polishes up the resume. They give you some great training and all that, free food, clothing, and shelter. You come out and depending how long you stay in, 4 years minimum, you're not wasting your time. And then you get a free education. And really, there's no reason to graduate at 22. You might as well graduate at 28, 30, and have the money to show for it. Even the most modern one is I did the math. I'm not saying you all should do this, but this is something everyone, like, all else fails. This is what you can do. You come out of high school, mom, dad, I want to work 2 full-time jobs for 4 years, still going to college. And you just bank all that money living at home. If you ask and implore them, please let me live here rent-free so I can save my money. And then by the end of that 4 years, instead of being $80,000 in debt with some jerk-off degree, you're between $150,000 to $200,000 cash or investable assets with no debt and 4 years working experience in 2 different jobs. It'd be exhausting me. You could do it, but that would almost be a very mathematical example of what I'm saying. Don't go to college. Don't work for the corpos. Don't do what the corpos say. Don't do what the HR Karen say. You need to get a master's degree. Okay. If you just work 2 full-time jobs from 18 to 22, you'd have, even at the job. So yeah, I know you're working for someone else, but you're not giving it your all. I'm talking like, bartender or whatever. You're going to be at least 100,000 ahead compared to your college graduated peers. And that's the real opportunity cost of dedicating yourself to corporate employers or any kind of institutional employers here in the United States, because you're wasting all this time in school and education. And that includes kindergarten through college. And they never use it. They'll never use your education. I have never even come close to using what I was trained in. And I've forgotten a lot of it. I guess I could look it up. But no employer even came close to even availing themselves of 50% of what I was capable of. It was always some dumbass boomer like, file this, do that. Why the fuck did I go to college? So that was the overall thesis of don't try until you're 35. You're not going to be rewarded. No one's going to take you seriously. So focus on other things that are going to reward you. Not sit on your ass and do pot and put chicken tendies from the EBT card under your armpits. Now, more modernly today, as time has gone on, we've kind of evaluated things like, okay, there's self-employment. There's going around doing van life. Reconnaissance. That's a great thing for you guys to do. Is go do reconnaissance. Get Reconnaissance Man, the book, and just drive around the country. Figure out where you want to live so that when you do, now you know where to apply for a job. Now you don't have to go buy 3 houses and figure out where you want to live. You could avoid snow. You can avoid high taxes. It's that right there is an investment in yourself. But about 2 weeks ago, I came out with the book, Zero World Problems. That right there. Cappy, if they're not going to take me seriously until I'm 35, what should I do? What you should do is, why don't you go literally, we had a guy in a state, I won't mention where, he built his own house. 21, he built his own house. Took him 3 years with his dad, but he built his own house. Learn how to fix your cars. That's going to serve you very well. And so a lot of that stuff is in zero world problems. It's like, okay, the world isn't going to take you seriously. Here's some things you could square away and get done. And there's at least 4 years worth of work there. In addition to what you'd have to do, just working to keep yourself alive. And you could really kill it. Hear me out on this. If you worked a security job at night and allowing you to go to school online and all these other things, but all that other stuff in zero world problem, not all, okay, a lot of that stuff is zero world problems. You can knock that out. You're not wasting your time. You are investing in yourself. And a third, fourth, whatever benefit we're on now of taking the labor and investing it in yourself, however you figure out how to do that, is instead of you going and slaving away for whatever, you work 60 hours a week, you make your $50,000. That labor is taxed, right? You got to pay taxes on $50,000 a year. What if, I did my own landscaping. let me give you an example. It was $14,000 for all the retaining walls I had to put in. What would Cappy have to do? Well, I'd have to go work up. What's 14,000 plus the tax at 20,000? I'd have to go and work up $20,000, right? Because then I'd be taxed 6 and leaving me the 14,000 to pay this guy to build retaining walls. If I just take that time instead and build my retaining walls, I am getting 100% second for second my investment back in the time I put into it. If I had to go and work under some other boomer dick sucking boss, I'd have to work for $20,000 and I'd only get 2/3 of my time back after paying the taxes. So that's another thing. People think your standards of living is everything about how much you make. No, it's what's your house and your estate or your apartment like? What condition is your car in? And a lot of this stuff you could just do it yourself. And that way you're not paying 1/3 of the money to the Democrats at the state, federal, and local governments. You're not slaving around and dealing with boomer dickhead bosses or more moderately Gen X bosses. You fixed your car, you're making money, and they can't tax you on that because that's all your labor. There was no financial transaction. So things like repairing, fixing, maintenance, carpentry, repair, that's what I'm talking about. And ideally, fine, you might have to go nighttime trade school or something like that. Fine, you're going to spend a lot of time on YouTube learning how to fix a motorcycle. But over the next 10 years, from say 25 to 35, all of a sudden you're very competent. You're very proficient. Your living expenses are very low. And then you can go into the labor market and say, are you going to take me seriously now? But you didn't waste your 10 years, whatever your typical 20-somethings do, getting master's degree, PhD, social media, pod, whining, complaining, whatever it is. And yeah, so let me, here's the notes. All right. So today's hustle crypto scam. Don't try and, will you still give men the same advice? Don't try until you're 35. Yes. So I would, because nothing has really changed. If you look at the employment culture, you mentioned hustlers and crypto bros and all that. That's not relevant. I'm looking more your choices. W-2 employment, go work for someone else, or you work for yourself. No, nothing's really changed. If anything, it's gotten worse because back in the day, it was corporate America. Traditional employment was already kind of a scam. You had to deal with corporate politics. You had to deal with nepotism. Now it's just gotten worse. If anything, it's more compelling. You don't even bother until you're 35. You got your DEI, your affirmative action. The NBA bros, they were never that good to begin with, but now all they know how to do is just cut costs and not pay you guys enough. All business leaders know how to do now is outsource and cut costs. That's it. There's no leadership. There's no idea. Unless you're working at Buc-ee's, there's no like, hey, we ought to pay our employees a fair wage so they stick around. We don't have employee turnover. All that has taken what is already an insane asylum and made it even worse. they still, to this day, some have, but nowhere near by the amounts. They're still requiring bachelor's required, master's preferred. That hasn't changed. And as I said before, you're going to pay income taxes, so you're not getting second for second of your labor. So yeah, and I haven't seen it. There was on the lower end, like on some entry level stuff, and in some of the trades, like there were some opportunities where if you were younger, and they may still exist, right? Where okay, you're making it worth trying before I'm 35. I'll give you a perfect example. It was the railroads. They were paying 80 grand to high school graduates now, and they give you training. Now you'd have to go to some cold right now. I think it's minus 20 up in Minnesota. Go fuck yourselves. You all deserve it because you vote for that stuff. So you'd have to work on the railroads at 20 below zero temperature. It would suck, but where are you going to get 80 grand with a high school diploma? Right. So there's that. There was a shortage where maybe even to this day, if you just walk in and you're on time, you are reliable, you're sober, it's easier to get an entry level job even nowadays, but it's still not, you don't work 60 hours and give it your all to the company. Another thing why it's even gotten worse, you got fake job ads, so the corporations have gotten worse, but there's some key areas where like, oh, you actually are taking us seriously. You actually are going to, I mean, H&R Block, we talk about H&R Block where I'm shocked. You take the test. If you pass the test, they're like, and we'll send a recruiter over to your house. Well, they won't send a recruiter, but they'll call you. It seems like the least amount of bullshit. Again, you're not making 100 grand working at H&R Block, but there's some areas in the U.S. economy where they're desperate enough. They got to throw away the bullshit, and Karen and HR is not there. That, yes, in those instances, it's worth trying before you're 35. But even then, like H&R Block, we only recommend that so that you go become self-employed later. But for the rest of the economy, generally speaking, no. Corporate America has gotten worse. The now Gen X bosses are coming in with their bot fake jobs, and we're just building up a potential employee client list that we could use. No, especially now with DEI and racism and sexism, where it's legal. As for now, until y'all get sued into oblivion, there's no reason whatsoever to give it your all until you're 35. So that still stands. With the asterisk that there's some green shoots sprouting up where you might want to go maybe work for the railroad or the military. But no, I would say 10 years later, do not try until you're 35 still applies. If anything, you can't just sit around until you're 35 either. And that puts the emphasis on figuring out how do you advance your life in the meantime. And so that's why we're always talking about getting skills that can quickly be transitioned into self-employment, whether that's accounting, even psychology. If you got a PhD online, accredited and all that, you could actually just open up your own online shop. I'm not recommending that for everybody. Military, or just working any old job, saving your money. Trades, where you go and get a trade, there's no HR, or there's less HR bullshit, and then you get to self-employment as quickly as possible. That's the main goal, is you should be using your time from 18 to 35, get your skill, get your trade, and get self-employed to become a contractor as quickly as possible. Or don't even bother with college. Just imagine that, really, you just sit down, you work 2 jobs for 4 years, live with your parents. Now you got 200 grand cash. Your life is going to get a lot easier. So it is still the main thing is to avoid wasting your youth and a decade of your time, even more trying to impress the corpos, right? That's the big landmine. We don't want you young kids wasting your lives and your youth and your one shot with that energy. It's like Goku with a Powerball. We don't want you wasting it on that. Build your own, ideally self-employed career. Put your efforts into that. And if you're not the self-employment type, there's a ton of other things you can do. Really, almost, can you build a house? Think about that. If you can build your house, the one thing that most people can't afford right now, you can afford because you know how to frame, you know how to hang rock, insulation, the plumbing and electricity. Really look into that stuff. That's where your time is going to be more rewarded, and not taxed a third away. So yes, I would say it still holds now more so than ever because corporations are just getting worse. They're stability. They're not stable employers. That is that. I don't even know why people are going to employers right now. And I think the young people are starting to wake up with the lie flat and quiet quitting. Uh, the young people are getting street smart about it. So, but corporals still haven't gotten the message. I mean, they still the big four in Wall Street. "Oh, what do you mean no one's lining up to suck our dicks anymore? What's going on?" So people are waking up to it. So, and you throw in the incompetence and NBA dude bros and affirmative action and all that, and lawsuits and all that. I don't think your major corporations, there's certainly not acceptable places to work. Certainly not long term. You're all going to have to do some time in there, but there's certainly not long term places to work. I wonder in 20 years' time if they keep going down this delusional DEI, woke dude, bro, latest, like there's no actual leadership. I wonder if they're going to even be around. But that's a true believer's problem. That's for the people who drink the Kool-Aid and think that you're going to have some kind of downtown office and get to work with it. That's for them to suffer. Young people are increasingly realizing it isn't worth it working for these corporations. And I don't know if they understand that. And what they're doing though is they're lying flat. I would make the added argument you can't lie flat because you're not making any progress. Well, what am I supposed to do? Zero World Problems, go get that book. Bachelor Pad Economics, go get that book. Reconnaissance, reconnoiter the country, find out where you want to live. Pick up skills that you're going to use. Learn to fix your car. Those type of things. That's something that you can do that will pay dividends long run. So there's the trick is to fill that gap before corpo's like, oh, yeah, we kind of need your experience and your age and your wisdom. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah, well, it'll be this amount of money. Okay, but we can't bring on as a W-2 because we can't afford the health insurance. That's fine. I could find affordable health insurance. You'll just pay me my $300 an hour. Okay. Thanks for hiring everyone who is incompetent that now you need me to bail you out. That's like the ideal situation to get in by 35, 40. But ideally, by the time you're 35, 40, you might have a house built and ready. Your cars are all fixed up. You won't even need that job. It's a long haul. But don't, in other words, one, don't invest in a company that isn't going to invest in you. Two, until they do give you that opportunity, they counter invest in you. Invest in yourselves through labor. Lifting weights, getting in physical shape, no joke. I mean, there's another one for you guys. Look at the sex. Once you open your eyes, you're like, oh yeah, there's a tremendous amount of stuff I can do. Why do you guys go to work? Why do you go to college? Why? Pussy. That's why. You want to get laid. You're going to make a six figure. Dude, what if you just went to the gym? Right? Instead of going to the office 12 hours a day, what if you went to the gym 2 hours a day? That's 1/6 the time you got jacked. Well, guess what? Now you're getting the girls and you don't have to earn no six figures. I'm serious. Ladies, you want to marry rich. You want the good looking, you want Mr. Perfect. Have you thought about losing weight and being hot? Just a theory I got. You know, you girls will go jibber jabber on the internet, dating app. What you get your master's degree? Okay, what if you also spend 2 hours at the gym every day instead of whatever other horse shit you girls do with your day? I bought this handbag. I bought this dress. Yeah, but you ain't hot. You went to the gym. Oh, and then you got the guy. So you didn't have to buy the handbag and this and the girl boss and resume and all that. You got the guy. Saved you a tremendous amount of time at work you didn't need to do. So yeah, so I hadn't thought of it necessarily in that way, but yeah, there's a tremendous. I took zero world problems from a purely economic perspective, I'm realizing that and the gym are two things to fill your time wandering in the desert until society is actually desperate enough to take you seriously and give you a fair shake in terms of wage and work conditions and things like that. And until that time, no. Seriously, railroads, the trades, the military, and then in your spare time, if you can build your own house, if you can Amish it up, you're decades ahead of everyone else. And once you realize, there's all this opportunity and it's mostly tax-free. The Target Corporation is going to pay me $45,000 to be the assistant associate thingy, mabob, but I got to take DEI and anti-white male training, and I got to go into meetings. No, I'm just going to build my retaining walls. Okay. You have fun with your meetings. I'm fixing my car. All right. Hope that made sense. Link below, Bachelor Pad Economics, and then also Zero World Problems. Go through that Zero World Problems book. I know Bachelor Pad Economics is like, you do this in the finance, and it's good. But if you're looking for, okay, what do I get up for in the morning? Because I sure the fuck ain't going to go into the office early. I'm leaving as soon as I can. What do I do with my own life so that go look at Zero World Problems. It's available on Amazon. Let's go to Super Chat. Drew, $2. Do you think these mass layoffs will fix the feds? No. It'll help. It'll delay collapse. It'll help bolster the dollar. Same thing with the Argentinian peso. Like Milei got inflation under control. I like I said before, it took us 60 years of the welfare state to get here. It's going to take us at least 20 to get out of it. Trump isn't going to be able to do it in 4 years. We need long-term restructuring of the federal government. And they're going to inevitably have to tackle the welfare state. You're not fixing, it helps to get your operational expenses in control. Absolutely. But until you reform Social Security and Medicare, as well as veterans benefits, and I think those are the three main ones, it's not going to matter. It's in the right direction. Wacky Leans, $2. Can I be an enrolled agent with a Wyoming LLC? Well, yeah. You can set up your company however you want there, Wacky. So you get your enrolled agent certification. Cool. You can do a DBA. You could set up an S Corp. You could set up a C Corp. Set up a Wyoming LLC, a Delaware LLC. I'd probably go with a Wyoming LLC. Prince Revolver, Magnum Opus, 10 generous dollars, 35 CDL. Exactly. Thank you. 35 got my CDL at 27, make around 85,000 a year. Learn how to change brakes, rotors, learn how to ride a motorcycle within a week. Paid off a 2019 Honda Accord, 30,000 in savings. I just want my truck. Where have all the good men gone? And Magnum, this is all very impressive, sir. I'm very impressed with you. But are you 6'2"? Chances are you're not. So what the fuck are you thinking with all this bullshit? 85,000 in the bank, 30,000 in savings, paid off stuff. Well, you think you're sir, you're not even 6'2". You think you're some kind of good, reliable man or something? You do not below 6'2" does not count. Daddy and a caddy, $2. I W-2 only to build a war chest to be a 1099 or CPA. Yeah. Look, you're all going to have to spend some time in the W-2 world. All of you. Some of you might be lucky enough where you actually do well. Some personalities do well in the W-2 world. I had this one guy he just fit in with banking. He is like, yeah, go banking. They love you, man. Go do it. But generally, no, it's corporations and traditional employees, they're not worth working for. Maybe they'll come around. Maybe they'll get rid of the stupid degree requirements. Maybe they'll stop being bigoted pieces of shit. Maybe we won't have to deal with dumbass me. But you don't have to work for them. You don't have to work for them anywhere near what previous generations did. Get your minimalism, learn to fix your own shit. Go work other jobs that allow you to work on your shit. And by the time you're 40, you're going to be way ahead of the average 40-year-old who did it the way they were told. And so, yes, some of you may have to spend some time in W-2 world, but if you get your CPA, tax practice, you're done. You never have to work public accounting again. You have to go work for some corporate accountant. Modern Wagey, $2. What if we have a commercial real estate underwriting skill set? I honestly, that's what I had. And it's been ages since I worked in banking. I wouldn't, you're in banking. That's the problem. And the unenviable position of an underwriter or an analyst or credit analyst is it's antithetical to the banker's motives, which is approve everything so I can get my commission. Again, I don't know if things have changed since that time, but with a commercial underwriting skill set, maybe you could get into valuations. I had an idea called independent analytics where I would do the underwriting for a bunch of small community banks. Like they'd pay me to do their underwriting. It was a brilliant idea. None of them took me up on it. Would have saved them a ton in labor. But bankers, especially small town community bankers, are dumb as fuck. Oh my God. Cattle is smarter than some of those bankers. Holy shit. I'd be switching to do taxes. You got your financial analytical ability. I'd go become a CPA or enrolled agent. I just would. There's no, what else could you do? Valuations. If you could do some independent underwriting for small clients, sure. But unless things have changed, you're just going to be dealing with bankers and they're all about sales. You're stuck on that Titanic, right? You're like, I'm a great welder. I could weld that hole up that we hit the iceberg with and save the ship. And the bankers are going, no, just don't admit there's a problem. It is a real, in an ideal world, that'd be a very important skill. It's absolutely critical and vital, but I wouldn't. You're stuck in banking. Fuck them. Bull Muscle, $5. Imported 94 Subaru Sandbar for 1,500 beach fun, cheap yen. 82 Fahrenheit and sunny. New York Fashion Week was a blast. Supermiles draped on my arm. 6'3". Oh, 6'3". See, you got, now he's a real man. Okay. The rest of you, 6'1" and under, fuck you guys. This guy, 6'3". See, why can't you all be like Bull Muscle, you assholes? How dare you come into my house? Modern Wagey, $2. I worked at Big Four valuation before a B4. Yeah, okay, so you do have valuation experience. All right. And you got Big Four experience. Man, just do people's taxes. Some kind of, I would imagine over there, you could pick up bookkeeping, some kind of self-employment. I don't know, maybe get in contact with lawyers where they need a valuation done. Like I could do your valuations. There might be even certifications where you could, I might even be state by state where you are licensed in a state to do commercial appraisals. And then I go talk to lawyers like, or just open up a shop. That won't take anything. Open up a shop, wherever you state is, New Jersey appraisals, commercial appraisals, something. That won't take you any money except for hosting costs to create a website and offer, like, there's your little toe in 1099 employment. But yeah, you're stuck in banking. God, and then aside, all those skyscrapers are going down, like sold 90% off in the Twin Cities. Yeah, forget what kind of employer can I do? What can you do self-employment wise? That's what I would be doing. I'm just trying, because I was in the position. I mean, what I ended up doing is I ended up just being, a dance instructor, working security. becoming an internet influencer. If I had having pretty much the exact same skill set you do, what would I do? I don't know what I do. If I had to go back and get a real job, I probably would do taxes. I go get my EA and I go do taxes. Then I open up a bookkeeping practice on the side. I'd be also half tempted to go get a PhD in psychology so I could legally open up my own psychological practice and just make, the $100 an hour, listen to some kid whine about his dad or something like that. But I would get out of valuations and go into accounting. Bull muscle, $2 a real man. Maybe I should start giving advice. Because bull muscle, because you're 6'3", you can now give advice. But if you were 6'1", you can't give advice. You see 6'1" guys giving advice. 6'3", you could give advice. You're a real man. And it's nice here in Vegas, but man, Hawaii is real nice. It's really nice. I'm glad you're enjoying your life, Bull. All right, that's it. Questions, answers, Asshole Consulting. I'll see you guys later. Toodles.